Monday Night Rugby on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. We all belong to the team of us.
Now you're welcome along. So wins at the weekend for Leinster, Ulster and Munster. Connacht once again caught very late on, this time in Paris. All four though through to the knockout stages. Leinster will play Connacht in the last 16. Munster will play Exeter, and Ulster get the defending champions to lose. Very happy to say Fiona Hayes, Grand Slam winner, is with us. Evening, Fiona.
How are you, Joe? How are you getting on?
Great. Gerry Thornley of the Irish Times as well. Hey, Gerry.
Good, thanks, Joe. And yourself?
Yeah, great. So I'll get ahead of myself for a moment, Fiona. Let's assume Ulster and Munster breeze through their matches. They would play each other in the quarters. And then on the Leinster-Connacht side of the draw, they're in the same side as Ulster and Munster. So we could have an all-Irish semi-final, shades of 09 again. That would be certainly an injection of some Irish interest.
Definitely looking forward to that. If that Ulster-Munster game would happen, I would imagine that hopefully they can both get through. But the way Ulster are playing at the minute, you know, that the last match watching them was outstanding, and I think Munster put in a big performance this weekend that was needed. So for me, I'm looking. It's a shame, I suppose, everyone's on the one side of the draw. The ultimate goal would be to have two Irish teams in that final, but it's exciting nonetheless.
Gerry, we've bemoaned the pool stages a touch, I think it's fair to say, across the season thus far. Did the final weekend catch fire a little bit more for you?
Yeah, it did. There was a lot of brilliant rugby, high-scoring games, loads and loads of tries scored, and the Irish teams contributed handsomely. I think they got something like 28 tries between the four of them, all registering attacking bonus points. So there was some really good rugby matches. I didn't see Montpellier and Exeter at the end, but that seems to have been a roller coaster too. There was, and the stat from, say, Connacht match was incredible. Leinster were ridiculously ruthless. Munster, bit of a statement win, back with a bang. I thought you would have quietened a lot of the outside noise outside them. And Ulster are certainly never always entertaining, never dull.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, Fiona. It was a much better weekend all in, and there was a sense of moving parts and jeopardy throughout the weekend, which is, I suppose, with the first three rounds were sorely lacking.
Yeah, myself and Gerry, I suppose it's the performances, it's the try scored. We've been given out, a few of us have been given out about the lack of, Munster, especially in particular, playing ball. We've looked at Connacht, they've provided it at times, but I think this was one of the first weekends where across the board, all the provinces really put a statement down. I don't know if it's that because they're going up into their camp for Six Nations. I thought a lot of players stood up. I thought it was exciting rugby. I watched the Connacht game myself in the Shannon Bar in Thomond Park, and I was hoping to God we'd get something similar out of Munster against the Wasps, and just two exciting rugby games. Obviously Connacht went down to the wire, but just from a Munster fan like myself, just sitting there and watching that style of rugby and seeing that kind of statement put down with them, it was absolutely brilliant.
Gerry, Leinster got the ball rolling on Saturday lunchtime at the Rec, 64 points to 7 against Bath. So across their last two games, that's 153 points and 23 tries scored. They were ruthless, really. First 15 minutes, Bath put up a bit of something, had a bit of time in the Leinster 22, and then once Leinster made the breakthrough, it was one-way traffic. Jimmy O'Brien scored 4 of those 10 tries. He's had a very good 2 weeks, 25 years of age. Leo Cullen said his defensive work had improved. He's taken his game to the next level. Why haven't we seen Jimmy O'Brien, do you suspect, on the scene a touch earlier?
James Lowe probably is the main reason, because he's the first choice left wing when it comes to the big European games particularly. So it was an opportunity knocked for Jimmy O'Brien, and I thought his defensive work was excellent. They weren't all routine easy finishes either. There was some very skillful finishes, particularly the one where he chased through and Jordan Larmer's kick ahead. I thought Leo, he's a class player. He's a very talented player. You can see that. Just this conveyor belt coming out of Leinster is just ridiculous. Don't know if there's a club quite like them in Europe. There probably isn't. Thought that they had to problem solve as well, because Bath brought different problems for them defensively. And once Leinster came up with that really strong early defensive set, then there was a lot of aggressive line speed in the Bath defence. They used shooters, went up hard on Johnny Sexton and other players, and Leinster looked a little bit cramped for space, and then just started finding space often through. I thought the rich variety of Johnny Sexton's kicking game was quite eye-catching, really finding space, grass all the time. And they began to pick holes as well through lines by Josh van der Fleer and Jordan Larmer. And so that was with a much different set of problems. They still ended up scoring 10 tries away from home. I think there's a bit of anger simmering there over the way they were treated in that Montpellier away match. and they've vented their spleen in the last 2 weekends against Montpellier and Bath. Admittedly, they're going to face a lot sterner tests ahead, but right now I see they've been installed as 5-2 favourites, and while it's a tough draw for them all the way through, like it is for everybody, they look really prime. You think there was no Tyke Furlong, no James Ryan, no James Lowe, and they just don't seem to miss a beat whenever they're missing 3 or 4 players. That's what makes them such strong contenders. I think that they can take injuries anywhere in the team, 3 or 4 injuries, and it just doesn't bother them the slightest, such as their strength and depth. And then you've got players like Sexton at the top of his game still. It's just, it's very exciting for the province. And they've ended up, they've ended up with the 2-legged last 16 tie against Connacht, and they'll either be away to Ulster or at home to Toulouse. Is that the way it works? Or that Munster, Ulster? Sorry, yeah. Well, either way, I think Leinster could conceivably get a home quarter-final. They're real threats to win this competition again. And like when you think that they actually were minus 28 from one game they didn't play and ended up with a points difference of plus 136, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they'd have Leicester or Claremont to navigate before potentially Munster, Ulster, Toulouse or Exeter.
Yeah, they'd be away to Leicester, wouldn't they? And then they'd be at home to Claremont, depending on who won that.
Right. Fiona, I think Gerry's right to highlight Johnny Sexton. This was his first start since the All Blacks game. He's in his 16th season. His debut for Leinster is 2006, and he was brilliant. I mean, I think it seemed almost slightly laughable post 2019 when we talked about Sexton being there for the next World Cup. With each passing month now, it's starting at this stage to look likely. His performance level is just so far ahead of the rest. He was place kicking aside, it was an all-round complete performance.
Absolutely outstanding, brilliant to watch. I just thought, even he's played with both nines. I just thought when Luke McGrath, then we had Jameson Gibson Park come on, he just seems to have this bond with anyone he plays. He knows where to put the ball. He played right on the gain line. He's kicking that quick tap penalty or quick kick across field to Jimmy O'Brien. He just sees everything. He sees it ahead of time. There was a penalty. They obviously switched off. Bath had gone to the side and immediately placed into his hand. Absolutely outstanding game to him. It was like he was never missing. He's like, we'll say to Tom Brady. I watched Tom Brady now last night. I know they lost, but he just seems to have that. The more people question or talk about him not being able to make this, or maybe he's been injured and he hasn't been playing, he just comes out and proves it week in, week out. And he certainly did not look in any way, rusty or anything. He came into this game like a man who's been playing non-stop. And it's exciting times for Ireland as well, for ahead with the Six Nations, because he's playing outstanding stuff. And I suppose he's heard all the Jack Carty talk as well, and people obviously put Johnny as number one, but he can get out there, he pulls the strings, he plays on that gain line. And I think with the way things are going at the minute, obviously Bundy might have a say in this, but I think you're looking at a Leinster 10, 12, 13 for definitely starting with Ireland. Their relationship between the three of those guys is amazing.
Sexton, Gerry, has really perfected the art of pitching up with very little game time behind him and just looking like he's had a run of games. So he's seamless on that front. There was a point where he made a break in the first half and showed a bit of gas still. He got away from a couple of players, and he was never lightning fast, but he still has whatever residual speed is there. I suppose the one thing all of us are probably guilty of when Sexton goes into contact, we tend to watch to see if Sexton's getting up as opposed to watching the play continuing. Maybe that's not necessarily a brand new thing either.
No, we tend to cluck over him like a mother hen, don't we? Down, Johnny, get up, please. Because but he's a big lad. He's a big lad, and he's in great nick. You can see it. He looks really in physically great nick this season, and he looked right from the very start of the season in that opening game against the Bulls. And that's not that break we saw at the weekend in the Rec wasn't the first break we've seen from him this season. So he's still a threat to the line himself, which he needs to be. He's become a really good running out half for many years now. He's always had that aspect to his game. You're right, he's perfected the art of pitching up as if he's had a run of games, even if he's quite cold and played a game in a couple of months. He's done that consistently over the years. He's done that for Ireland. I remember one of the Six Nations title success was he laid off for 10 weeks when he was with Racing and came back in the first game back. I think he missed the opening Six Nations back, and then he came back a week later and was man of the match, and I think Ireland went on to win the title. So it's very encouraging for Ireland, as Fiona says. For me, though, the real thing for me was the variety of the kicking game. That lovely little grubber off the right outside of his right boot, the little chips over the top, as well as the cross kick. I wouldn't normally associate Johnny, which is probably unfair because there's nothing he can't do. Like when he finally does retire, we're going to be talking one of the greatest Irish players that ever lived. No doubt about it. We should already be talking those terms.
Yeah. It's actually, when you think about it, Fiona, such a miracle that O'Gara was followed by Sexton. Like, these are kind of players that should be spread across a lifetime. For one to follow the other was just a complete freak.
Yeah, absolute luck as well. I suppose I remember even back in the day watching the two of them, they going at it hammer and tongs, shouting words at each other, constantly at one another. I think towards the end of the career, I'm not sure if Johnny said that, but I'm sure Ronan brought out the best in him as well. They both seem to have that competitive streak, and for Ireland, it's been really lucky as well. But I think the injury front as well with Johnny, he has had injuries, but with Ireland, he's been kind of thereabouts, and the big tournaments he's been available, and we're haunted with both those tens that we've had over the years. Exciting tens, but really consistent with their provinces, play good rugby, and I suppose it's we're constantly talking for the last year as well what's coming next. But I think in Johnny's terms, we don't need to be talking about that right now. He's still here and he's still doing the job.
Yeah, sure is. Lawrence Delalio, I was watching him with Brian O'Driscoll and Craig Doyle last night in BT. He echoed Gerry's point that it does feel as if Leinster are the team to beat in Europe at the moment. Kind of a caution about that, because I mean, at this stage last year, none of us were thinking, well, La Rochelle will be the team to stop Leinster. So there is that nagging fear of big physical team potentially away from home in Europe in the latter stages. Do you see anyone there on Leinster's side of the draw to stop them getting to a final in particular?
Myself. Yeah. No, look, for me, they're playing the best rugby. They've probably learned their lessons. We've talked about Saracens, La Rochelle. They just look more physical. The pack looks good. There is absolutely, I've talked to Munster fans, Connacht fans, Ulster fans. Right now, they're playing the best rugby. They haven't even had consistent run of games. But when they get out into that pitch, even we saw against that Bath team, 64-7. That's putting a statement. The week before, they done the exact same thing. They seem like they're up for it, and they're definitely looking for that star. And from this side of the group, I don't think the way things are going at the minute and the consistency of playing week in, week out, there's anyone up to that Leinster standard at the minute. They're just absolutely fascinating to watch. Their bench, even I was talking to someone about Dan Sheehan coming on. The lines of running they're doing, their footwork into contact, Van der Fleer, everyone seems to be in that back row. Everyone is buying in, but they've become better ball carriers, far more physical than we've seen. And I like Gerry said earlier, they're still missing Tyke Furlong in that scrum, and everything held up the piece. They have a massive bench, and I think it will stand to them, because when someone goes off, it's just like someone walks in that conveyor belt as well. Someone comes onto that pitch and they're ready to go, and the standard does not drop in any position. Yeah,
Gerry, they've Connacht, then it's Leicester or Claremont, as we mentioned, and then it'll be Ulster, Munster, Exeter or Toulouse. I mean, the defending champions are there. Who'd worry you the most out of those from a Leinster perspective?
Whoa. Well, you made a good point there. As you were speaking, Joe, I was thinking, Will Skelton, you know what I mean? Like, and you're thinking of Saracens and La Rochelle in recent years. The one thing I would say is I'd agree with Fiona. I think with Andrew Porter switching back to loose head and Ronan Keller coming on another level, and then the emergence of Dan Sheehan, and you've got Tyke Furlong there as well, and Michael Alatoa, I think, and as well Caelan Doris and Jack Coe in the back row, I think they're better equipped now physically to cope with the big bruising side, or the big bruising players in a Will Skelton type. There aren't that many Will Skeltons in the world. They obviously have a little bit of a concern there themselves. That's why they're signing Jason Jenkins, isn't it? Because they want another back five forward in there, maybe. But if I look across that half of the draw, they're all dangerous. You wouldn't know who could come out of it. But I'd be like Ulster. There's an awful lot of players. You'd imagine they'd be stronger come April, and then they'd have a stronger bench to cope with a team like Claremont that they struggled with in the last 10 minutes, because Claremont had a much stronger bench, albeit I don't know what John O'Gill was doing, leaving Damien Penno particularly on the bench, and Camille Lopez, because Penno has been their best player by some distance this season, both in Europe and domestically. But I would worry for Ulster in terms of Toulouse, because if you look at what Leinster have been like the last couple of weeks, they were really motivated by what happened to them with that game against Montpellier being cancelled and Montpellier being awarded 28-0. They were furious about it. Toulouse are going to be equally as furious about what happened to them. And I think the organisers of the tournament will be mightily relieved in some respects that Toulouse weren't nudged out on the basis that they were restricted to playing just 2 games, both away from home. But you think of Toulouse with Dupont and Nentamac and all their big forwards as well, they'd be a massive threat, you'd imagine, come April, albeit like Leinster, they will be both suppliers to France, but not on the same level. So if I had to pick one as a danger to both the Irish sides, or all the Irish sides in that half of the draw, it would be to lose.
Yeah, well, it's Connacht in the short term. So Stade Francais 37, Connacht 31 yesterday in Paris. It was extraordinarily a fun game to watch. Tries disallowed in there as well, and toed and froed. In the end, Stade Francais came good. The issue here, I suppose, Fiona, we give Connacht so much credit, and rightly so, over their style of play, and I think they're maximising their resources. But at 31 points to 20 up on 67 minutes, really they should win. And there's probably a degree here with once being unfortunate and twice being careless now, and twice in a row now they've come up short when they've had very healthy leads going into the last 20 minutes or so. So this is an issue for Connacht.
Definitely. I think where they're struggling at the minute is that front five. Those front five players last 20 minutes, and you bring on your bench especially. You like them to be able to see out a game, big ball carriers. I think they're lacking in that department. Their style of play is absolutely brilliant to watch, but I understand a friend sticks with it, and that's the way he plays. He's going from 1 to 80 minutes. There's no change in game plan. He's looking at that, and I admire that, and I really do. But part of me, I just want him to be able to see out those big moments, see out the big games. But I think where they're falling short sometimes is that scrum or that line out, or big ball carriers are holding in a lot tighter. They lack on that, and I think that's where they're getting show up when it comes to the end of the game. Yeah,
they'd no props yesterday, Gerry, was the problem. Peter Wilkins afterwards was saying we lost three of our four props from the Leicester game, and then we lost another 2 during the week. That had put a strain on anyone's resources. So they had young academy replacements off the bench, and Bernard Jackman was in commentary for us yesterday and off the ball, and he cited that ultimately as the reason that they lost the game. So, Connacht very few teams could cope with that kind of carnage. Connacht certainly can't.
6 props, Joe. They were missing 6 props. Any of whom, had they been fit, would have started. So they're effectively down to 4th choices. Jordan Duggan, 24-year-old, only his 5th start. Greg McGrath, 25-year-old, his first ever start. And one went 80 minutes, the other had to go 76 minutes.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of, second row, a 24-year-old and a 22-year-old. I think the tight 5 between them, if you take out Shane Delahunt, the other 4 in the tight 5 had only started 26 games in total. I love a bet, and I like betting on Connacht particularly, but I wasn't remotely tempted plus 6 points, 10 to 11. I thought it was a minor miracle that they came so close and they were well in the hunt to win that game. The scrum killed them. With a proper scrum, with anything like full strength tight 5, they'd have won that game, no doubt, because really Stade go to their scrum so much. That was another fear I had for Connacht going into the game. All that being said and done, they scored some wonderful tries. I think they kept playing. I think it was a bit different to the Leicester game, like in that extraordinary end-to-end sequence going into the last 5 minutes. Compare that with a week before in the sports ground, and they were just kicking the ball and not even chasing it that well. So I don't think they stopped playing this time. I think they kept playing. They went for their offloads. Kilgallen's offload, if it doesn't go to hand, it leads to that scrum at the halfway line. And I know Wayne Barnes and the officials had a picture from early in the game of Stade Francais dominance of the scrum. But in that last 15 minutes, Wayne Barnes was refereeing only one team. The count was 5-0. Both tries came off advantage plays. Conor Oliver was harshly sin-binned. There were at least 2 turnovers by Stade. One was side entry, one that neither of the tacklers had rolled away. That had been the shoe been on the other foot, I'm sure Connacht would have got pinged. But by some distance, the worst was the break by Hugo Sanchez. It clearly comes from a piece of blocking by the Stade tight head. And yet Connacht twice get done for blocking. Once ruling out a try, which was no worse. That beautiful strike moved out in the first half. The late one against Jared Butler. But the scrum penalty was scandalous. I was right beside the touch judge, and as limited my knowledge is about scrummaging, their tight head clearly ground. He loses bind and he loses footing and he goes to deck. And it's a penalty for Stade Francais. I thought it was a shocking decision. I thought Wayne Barnes was pretty bad. It would almost rival Mike Adamson in the Friday night, but it's not quite.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gerry. Actually, myself and Fiona Coughlin were texting during it, and we were wondering, in the media all week, there's talk about that front row, and does that paint a picture, in the official's head? Because clearly, I know Barnes was on the other side of the scrum, but clearly you could see I felt so sorry for him, because it was actually the tight head that slipped. Feet went from underneath him, and it was a straight penalty by Barnes. I didn't understand it.
So what is Barnes thinking there, Fiona?
I suppose from my knowledge of the game, I would imagine it came from the AR on the side, because Barnes was on the other side, so he immediately called it. But it was a wrong decision. You can see he's completely, 2 legs went underneath him, and if you're not sure, you can always reset the scrum. So I thought it was quite harsh on them, and I really felt sorry for, because they'd really held out that scrum, and you could see they wanted to get back up that pitch, and I really felt like if they did get past halfway, that Connacht would have got that win in the bag. So it was very, very harsh.
Okay, so then do you agree with Gerry? This is a different way of losing laid on to what we saw at the sports ground.
Yeah, they played some ball. It was exciting. They didn't say, look, we'll finish here. We'll give them the ball and let them counter attack us. They played. They offloaded. It's 50-50 type of rugby, but that's what makes Connacht so exciting. I mean, we saw the offloads, the try. I mean, before their last try was absolutely outstanding to watch, and they stuck with that system and they went for it, and they wanted. Obviously, they knew they'd qualified, but they wanted that big win. And for me, watching that rugby, as exciting as it is, you'll have that debate. Do you change your style to see out a game? But they went for it. They played their same systems, and in another day that could have worked out good for them. But they're definitely the team to watch for entertainment at the minute. Entertainment,
100%. Gerry, do you ever think watching them? And I'm going to apply this. So the fan in me and the observer watching a game of rugby is not saying this, right? This is almost a more professional question. Do you ever watch Connacht at times and think, geez, you seem to always throw the pass and always attempt the offload, and there have got to be some moments where you might think to yourself, geez, we just made 30 metres here, let's hit the deck and let's recycle and go again, because there's times where there goes one, there goes another offload, there goes another offload, oh my God, they've thrown another one, and it's like we're either going to score the greatest try of all time here or we're losing the ball. That's it.
Yeah, added to which is those wonderful strike moves, those lovely launch plays they have off scrums and lineouts, where they're just ridiculously good. Like the try that was disallowed, Caelan Blades launched in the middle, and he's got 6 different people to choose. And the amount of time their runners come onto the ball with just perfect timing from depth is extraordinary. Hats off to Mossy Lawler for all those people. They're perfecting them in the training ground. They're doing them brilliantly. Yeah, there were 19 offloads, Joe, officially. It seemed like there were about twice that. Yeah. And he made the same amount that didn't go to hand. I'm thinking of that Dermot Kilgallen one with about 5 minutes to go, when he makes that brilliant one-handed poach and then makes a gallop and he goes for an offload. We're about to have the 5th counter-attack in a row, and it goes forward, and that leads to that fateful scrum. But then if the ball goes to hand, whoever's on the outside is away. So I don't know. Like, they died with their boots on, and I suppose that's just the way they're going to play, because if they're ever going to, pull off a shock against a Leinster in the last 16 or something like that, or, win a trophy, which is what I know Bundy Aki interviewed him the week before last. That's what they've got their heart set on this season again. They're not going to overpower teams, are they, by and large? So they probably are going to have to go on down with their boots on until they win. Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Fiona? They're doing the right thing in always taking it on and going for the risky one.
That's the way they're coached. That's the style of play they have. And
do you think it's right though? Do you think it's right?
I personally wouldn't. It wouldn't be for me, but that's because I love to see out a game. It's those little wins,
Munster.
But I know, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's not the rugby I've grown up with and watched, but for the observer, it's so exciting to watch, and I hope they continue to do it. It's really exciting, and it will come. It's as Gerry said, once they get that, they get those props back in there. You get Dennis Buckley back playing rugby, Finlay Bealham. Like, once they get those, they're not the most powerful front five, like in I suppose even in Ireland, but once they get a settled system, they can still play that style of rugby, and things will just happen, and hopefully they'll get that trophy, because they are exciting, and you want to win for exciting rugby.
Yeah, no, I sort of hate myself for even asking the question. So, Rugby on Off the Ball is brought to you by Vodafone, official sponsor of the Irish rugby team of us, everyone in. Munster 45, Wasps 7 at the scoreline, in front of just over 13,000 in attendance at Thomond Park. So for all the bemoaning of the situation at Munster, 4 wins from 4, and they have Exeter in the next round. They had been averaging maybe 15 points a game post the South African trip, which obviously caused carnage in the camp. So this was a very welcome change. Does the scoreboard, Gerry, reflect a much more ambitious Munster in their general play?
I thought so, yeah, I did. I thought there was they varied the point of attack nicely. It wasn't just about one-off runners. They got to the edges quite a bit. Not a huge amount, but not as much maybe as Leinster did, because for all the excitement, whenever Simon Zebo touched the ball, he only actually seemed to get it about 4 or 5 times the entire match. But I thought there was a lot of variety. They were looking to offload in contact. There was good support lines. There was lovely variety to Ben Healy's game. I think his game has come on a ton on the watchful eye of Stephen Larkham this season. I mean, they let JJ Hanrahan go, but you can see why now. And the couple of lads they promoted in the academy are just class players. And you've got Joey Carby and Jake Flannery there as well. So there's quite a conveyor belt of talent at 10 coming through there in Munster. And they were missing, some big ball carriers like Jamie Dayende and stuff. But I think I thought they were very good. I thought they were very exciting, very positive. They had produced some really good defensive sets as well, because Wasps actually had more of the ball and more of the possession, and they did that. And there was a bit of a long error in the second half after they got their bonus point. It can happen. I think it was about over 30 minutes without a point being scored, and those offloads weren't sticking. And the crowd were yearning for more. You could just sense this, it would have been a little bit anticlimactic if they just finished like that. But the 2 tries at the end, particularly the second one by the darling of the crowd, Simon Zebo, sent them all away in good form. And I thought it was 45-7 against a team that had just beaten Leicester and Toulouse back-to-back is no mean achievement. They put them away, and I thought it was a statement win and leaves them in good shape going into the knockout stages. And I would give them a good chance against Exeter. Exeter aren't quite firing this season yet, as they were 2 seasons ago in the double. They're down in 6th in the table. They've been beaten away from home by Glasgow and Montpellier without even picking up a bonus point in either 2 games. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy, but I would give Munster a good chance.
Yeah. So, it's a very different Exeter to the one that won Europe a couple of years ago, for sure. Fiona, the Munster attack for you then? It's been such a talking point over the last number of weeks.
This was the game. It was exciting. I was in the stands myself. It was exactly what was needed. They've talked all week. They've been constantly asked questions about where have they come, their style of rugby, and I think they showed. I'm sure Stephen Larkham will be very happy, because people have said we've seen it in little blasts here and there. Whereas this was the game where I really, really saw it. It was exciting. The offloading was absolutely outstanding. Jack O'Donoghue had an amazing game. His work rate, it's amazing when you're just watching from the stands and you see exactly what's going on. Obviously the camera follows the ball, and he was absolutely immense. But the Coombs, Jack tried to pick and go off it. Coombs was another player who stood up. It was exciting, but it was that backline play it was getting. I thought Haley had a cracking game as well. We saw the offloading, the footwork in contact. This is what the fans have been crying out for. This is what we've been looking for, and people have said, we've won this, we've won that, but this was the type of game that it got the crowd going. And myself and Gerry were talking about it earlier. It's exciting to be there. The Zebo, whether you rate him, you don't rate him, the fans absolutely adore him, and it brings that buzz. And we saw that in the team, and they were just happy. They were playing with a smile in their face, and I think that made a big, big difference against the strong Wasps team. I have to say, the team named, they have been doing getting better in the Premiership, and I just thought they were clinical. But definitely that big defensive set before half time was another statement they put down to hold them out. They were warriors, and we've never questioned the heart, but they showed that and backed that up with that skill and that backline attack. I thought Scannell is another player who doesn't get a lot of credit, and I thought he done very well with Farrell as well. Yeah,
6 line breaks to none. Gerry, you pointed out in the Times today, 10 offloads from Munster. I think your points are about right, Gerry, about this is a good Wasps side, and so Munster put 45 points on them. Leinster go over to the Rec, destroy Bath. We have Connacht going so well. We have Ulster beating Claremont and putting 34 points on them and winning all their games as well. Like, when you think in Irish rugby, Gerry, we probably really become a bit spoilt. And Ron O'Gara all those years ago almost raising eyebrows by saying we can go and we can beat the English sides, and now here we are 15, 20 years later, and a weekend like that is almost taken as, that's kind of where Irish rugby should be, and maybe it's worth taking stock the odd time and saying things aren't so bad.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. We have been spoiled, and things are very good. 4 provinces in the knockout stage. It's the first time ever, and totally deserved to be there. All qualified quite comfortably enough in the end. In the lowest place finisher was 5th, and then Leinster were 4th, weren't they? Munster 3rd and Ulster 2nd. So they've all qualified absolutely by right. And look across the water, no Welsh team, no Scottish team, no Italian team. Like, people talk about Wales, they get to World Cup semi-finals. Yeah, they got to a couple of World Cup semi-finals out of the last 3 under Warren Gatland, and good luck to them, fair play to them. They win their fair share of Six Nations titles as well, but so do Ireland. Ireland perform more consistently in the Six Nations. And I wouldn't swap our setup, given what goes on in Welsh rugby at the moment with their region, and Scotland as well with their regions. Like, Irish rugby is quite healthy, I think, and I wouldn't just judge everything that Irish rugby does on the basis of one quarter-final result in a World Cup every 4 years. I also think it's just a convenient stick for the anti-rugby lobby to beat over the head of Irish rugby when it doesn't happen. And, you know, Ireland are going to end up playing France or the All Blacks in the quarterfinals, most probably, if they get there, out of a tough group. So in the meantime, we should enjoy the successes when they happen, and have 4 teams in the knockout stages, all entertaining their supporters royally. The thought of full crowds now coming back for the Six Nations, Ireland being so well primed for that after such a brilliant autumn, going into with 8 wins in a row. I know there'll be lots to talk about the Six Nations when it comes. But then when you come back to April, Joe, I agree with you. Like, this is going to be a superb tournament final. It's going to get real lift off. Hopefully, touch wood, there'll be no more COVID-affected cancellation, postponements, or we'll have full stadia for an interesting concept, 2-legged last 16 round, and then into the quarterfinals. It could be quite a run in the Heineken Champions Cup, and it needed it. You know, I feel sorry for the organisers. I don't know what else they were meant to do. I think hats off to them even getting us to this stage.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Fiona, I can't detect a pattern here or logic here, so maybe you can. Jack Crowley plays against Cast the previous week, and you think to yourself, well, he'll start, and then Ben Healy gets the nod, and as you both have remarked upon, Ben Healy was really, really good. What's Van Graan doing with these two? Like, does one get the nod more for certain types of games, or do you think he's trying to give them both minutes and he can't make up his mind, or he likes both of them, wants to bring them along, or what's your read on how Van Graan is managing these two?
From what I heard, I thought maybe Healy got a knock in the Cast game and or before the Cast game, and that's why he wasn't involved. I think there is a pecking order there. I think it's obviously Joey, then you're looking at Healy, and he's liking what he sees with Jack Crowley, and you have Jake Flannery coming up. It's really, really hard at the minute. I suppose you don't want these guys, well, he's leaving the promise, but you don't want these guys leaving the setup. So it's trying to get them game time. It's trying to keep Jack Crowley happy. I'm sure he is, but in general, if you're looking at it, probably Ben Healy is there. I think they're going to stick with him. He really, we've talked about Crowley. He's come in, he's done a job. Game time is what makes these players much better, and I think Ben Healy commented on that yesterday. It's the more game time he gets, he needs to try out these things. His kicking was top class. His interaction with Zebo to get that little chip through was brilliant, but it's exactly that, it's game time. So I think they're going to stick with him. And I suppose when it comes to the Six Nations, whether Joey gets in, if he gets game time, if the injury heals, we'll see. We'll see. Does he go with Ben Healy? If Ben Healy plays absolutely outstanding, you know, has been for the promise, probably go with Joey. But it's for me, it's Joey and Healy is what he's been sticking with.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually the case. Actually, Joe, Ben Healy wasn't available.
Right. Okay.
Why he wasn't involved? I think Fiona's absolutely right. Ben Healy's clearly number 2 choice. Don't forget, he's that bit more experienced. He's that bit more games under his belt. I think he's played about 28 games for Munster, whereas Jack's only had a handful. Yeah.
No, just half wondering if maybe almost a Harry Byrne situation, if they're now looking at Crowley and thinking, I wonder, is he the one? So we'll see. Ben Healy was great yesterday, in fairness to him. Clock is against us. Ulster 34, Claremont 31. I mean, Claremont didn't seem very interested in this game for a lot of it, and then rallied back to make it look much closer than it was. We don't really have much time to talk about the performance too much. Certainly the likes of Lowry and Balakoon and Hume are going to bounce into camp and training and going to make things very interesting for Andy Farrell, you suspect. The question I want to ask you both here on this one is Ulster Munster, assuming they dispatch of Exeter and Toulouse, which is far from a guarantee. Who, with your life depending on it, wins that game?
Gerry, I'll let you go first, because I'll be leading with my heart, so I'll have to.
No, you won't. You won't actually. You need to have a think what's going on in your head. I know what your heart says. Gerry, your life dependent on it.
Jeepers, somebody once said that to me. Yeah, when I couldn't forecast a match, I can't pick this one. He said, "Well, if your life depended on it, would you go for it?" Well, I'm very glad my life doesn't hinge on the outcome of rugby matches. Geez, that's a tough one, Joe. Ulster would be at home, wouldn't they?
I'm relying on you for permutation. Sorry.
Yeah, Ulster would be at home if that came to pass. I do think that Toulouse are a big danger to both of them. That half the draw, as I said to you. That is such a tough one. That partly would depend on how their injury profiles would be coming that given week.
Everyone's fit.
Everyone's fit. You're a bad man, Joe. You're a bad man. I couldn't call that. I don't know. No, I don't know. Maybe Ulster with home advantage. Then again, as I said, I like a bet, and one of my goals in the Heineken Cup is never back against Munster. I don't know, Joe. No, maybe Munster. I don't know.
Right, okay. Well, you got shot in the head there. That's pathetic
You're
effort.
dead,
Yeah, you're
Gerry.
dead. I mean, you didn't even play. Right, Fiona, you know Munster, grand hearts as Munster, but in reality, this Ulster team at home, full house.
I think going on, even past Munster, fair well up there. So I think Munster, hopefully, I'm looking at them. I'm seeing them coming into a bit more form. They're playing good rugby. Obviously, Ulster have been playing outstanding rugby as well, but I'm going to have to go with Munster. I think there's a couple of X-factor players. I'm sure Ulster feel like their backline is it, but I think pack-wise, I think Munster would probably dominate. That's my opinion, but maybe not.
It would be a titanic tussle, wouldn't it? Absolutely titanic tussle.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
1-4 game.
It'd be great if it happened. It'd be really good. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed that. Gerry Thornley of the Irish Times and Fiona Hayes, Irish international, once upon a time. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.
Have a good
Sorry, I
one.
don't know why I did that, Fiona. You're always an Irish international. Bye-bye.
Bye. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Monday Night Rugby on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. We all belong to the team of us.